Emergency action message. It is time. Ladies and gentlemen, Juice here from the Long War. We have Mike Haspel and the legendary, two legendary individuals next to one another on the screen. Mike Haspel and Sean Naden. What's going on, guys? Mike Haspel next to one legendary.
It is. Hold on a second. I am just hearing echo nightmare. Yeah.
Emergency action message.
This is nuts right now. So hold on a second. That did not go well. Well, we are live, so
there it is. I will continue to ramble if Haspel, you're telling me I have the platform for
you. Do have the platform. We are live.
So it is
the only person echoing Haspel, so then we don't have to worry, Juice. He just has all the windows open. We only have one window open.
Yes.
I know. Come to find out, we don't have to actually do anything but talk. Haspel is the one who's actually like in the proverbial Beats lab, you know, making sure all this magic still happens. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is not Wednesday night. This is not 8 o'clock. This is a special edition. Big FAQ 2 has just dropped, and we had to make sure. We've all been waiting. Matter of fact, the bat phones have not been going off. We haven't been talking as much 40K just because, you know, everybody's kind of in a holding pattern. Why waste time and effort in our lives when we don't have the actual content in front of us? Now we do. And what better way to bring this in than two legendary people in the game, someone who reads amazingly well and someone who is one of the best players in the country. So, Sean, before we get ready and Haspel to do his Thug Fizzle by reading, give me a scale 1 to 10. How many spiky bits are we thinking this FAQ is going to change the meta? 10 being a lot of spiky bits, just to make sure if I didn't put that out there.
And is spiky bits a lot of change or less change?
No, I would say 10 spiky bits is a lot of change. Like pre-measuring, introducing into the game, like 6th edition, that would have been 10 spiky bits.
Well, if the meta at Nova was 50% IG, Imperial Knights, Blood Angels, then you gotta go like 8 or 9 because it ain't gonna be 50% no more.
Dude, that's actually right, dude. If you, like, I was telling Haspel when we got back from Nova, I was like, Haspel, you could literally look left and right, and there was 1 to 3 knights on every row, and there ain't nothing but 8 people on every row. It was unbelievable. You know, sometimes there was 7 knights on a table. You know, sometimes you look down and they're like, oh, there's 2 Castellans, not by the same person. I mean, it was unbelievable. So, Sean, I think you're right. It is absolutely going to change the face of Night Titans somewhat. But Haspel, your thoughts before we get into it?
And I apologize, folks. I'm still trying to sort out what's going on. So I'm going to defer to you guys right now because I'm trying to make sure that everything's working and somebody's
Haspel's ears are bleeding.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is fully tapped into the.
We had some really bad echo. And
this is the difference when you get some good production value. You know, it takes a literal juggernaut to one person in your squad to keep us all going. So, Haspel, you tell me when you're ready to start reading the big FAQ, and we'll go from there. Until then, Sean and I are going to talk
and
changes.
Folks in the chat, you know, let us know if you can see everything all right and if everything's working. I'm having to manually switch between us. So if you can throw us some feedback on what you guys are seeing and everything, that would help.
Awesome. Sean, big FAQ just dropped. Top 10, I don't even care about top 10. Number 1 change before we get into it. Number 1 change to the local meta, to the country meta. Where was your brain at when you first read it an hour ago?
Fly keyword. Big change.
Are you telling me that that's literally, I don't care about no CP farm. I don't care about the cost of the Vex stratagem going up. I don't care about anything. Nerfing the fly keyword might be one of the most game-changing things they've done in a while.
Oh,
shout out to Kenny because he called it at the end, the tail end of the last podcast that just dropped, that the fly keyword might get addressed. And let me tell you if it didn't in the biggest way. We'll definitely go into details when it comes up, but I can't agree with you. Fly keyword is any major combo. Sean, correct me if I'm wrong. Any Death Blossom attack, any major combo that was happening shy of the night with the Raven strat had fly keyword units involved. Shining Spears, Bane Guineas, Magnus Mortarions, Plague Drones. I mean, all kinds of stuff was happening.
And I think they might have gone too far with it and not like they watched a certain thing happen at Nova, didn't like how that was happening, such as in your game on stream where you're get a 0-inch charge from the top of a building to the bottom of the floor. And yeah, that's what they tried to change, but I think they went too far. And now guys can't jump screens, which I think makes the game less dynamic.
Dude, are you kidding me? My mind is blown that these guys have these huge wings. They have all this, and you're telling me that I've got, we're going back to brimstones here. I've got 4-point termagants that are just, I don't even have to zone out more than 4 inches in front of you to make you go around them. Like the concept, people tell me like, oh, bubble wraps are back. And I'm like, no, they're not. Bubble wraps. A bubble wrap is inferring that I have to make sure that I'm tight with my deployment and tight with my tactics to keep you from able to leapfrogging and doing stuff like that. That's the concept of a bubble wrap. We've even had to go as far in some editions to double bubble, right? Because people have the ability to, the firepower is so great. Swing again, all this. We don't need that now. You need 4 random hobos chilling, to literally stop a demon prince from moving. All you got to do is alter his movement by 3-4 inches. So this is, I think this is game changing. People thinking that, oh, you need, 120 models to do this. Like, yeah, 120 models will actually say, if you don't want someone to assault you, it'll never happen. But the usefulness of a 5-man scout unit, there's no need to throw 5-man scout units away anymore by putting them mid-board to stop somebody from infiltrating. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit too, or in my opinion, 5-man scout units are actually tactical now because they will stop the charge of a Mortarion.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't know if I like it. I
hope it's something that gets rolled back next March.
Yeah, we won't have to live with this one as long, hopefully. How do you feel if they are doing no power levels? How do you feel about that? They move the power levels down to just number of units and then
points. Well, it's points.
Yeah. Points.
I mean, it's just easier. It's just easier to track because you can see right on the list. You don't have to write a second number in the list. It's less gameable because I think units could jump power level by like a bunch by adding 1 model.
Correct.
And instead, so like you could go like 5 witches to 6 witches is like 8 points increase, but it jumped power level by like 3. That's silly.
Yeah, I did it a lot, and I know your boy Dallas. Shout out Dallas, had one of the tightest games of 40K I've ever played in my entire life. We drew actually all the way down, but so I know for a fact Dallas was looking at it as well as Gene Stealer Colts and stuff, not having. Wait a second, I just want to make sure everybody knows we are actually live. This is the inaugural, the proverbial champagne bottle being broken on the big ship. We are in the North Carolina Aberdeen Beats Lab. I wanted to kick this off starting Tuesday of next week. For anybody who doesn't know, we're going to be, I'm going to start doing my tactics classes are going to be spread out to the World Wide Web. We're going to be doing a lot of things. And so I wanted to go ahead and start that off with tonight's special edition episode. So if you hear people coming in and out, people talking anything else, at the end of the day, this is Hobby Shop and everybody's getting it in because tomorrow, even though we've been open for almost 6 weeks, tomorrow is the grand opening. Thank you, Hurricane Florence, for pushing us back 2 weeks. But tomorrow we're going to do a 2,000-point tournament, and then followed by Sunday, we're going to have a 1,500-point tournament. Also, last plug for it. For anybody who comes in, and I encourage any local people, anybody who runs tournaments in their local areas, anything across any country there is, run back-to-back tournaments. People enjoy them. Also give something back to the people, make it inviting for anyone who is the novice, the beginner, the anything else. We are giving away the last 5 slots, the Mike Haspel Award of Excellence and the next 4 individuals, last place, are all getting in free on Sunday's tournament. Right. So we want to make sure if anybody's down to do the gauntlet and play 6 games in 2 days, like you deserve an award, and especially like Sean, I know it happens to you a lot. I know it happens to me every time. Maybe you, not as much me, but every tournament that I show up to, I learn stuff. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. Getting people to learn and doing it, at the cost of us, make sure people don't have to come out of pocket. So either way.
Yep.
Sounds great.
And I am ready to start going through this. Folks, I am also looking at the chat, but I am juggling like 8 open windows right now. So just if we don't get to what your chat is talking about, that's what's going on.
Aspel, if you want, I can pull up the chat too. Give me just 1 second.
All right. Well, in the meantime, I'll start reading this big FAQ thing. So we're just going to go step by step and then just talk about stuff. So the first rule is Battle Brothers. And all of the units in each detachment in your Battle-Forged army must have at least one faction keyword in common. In addition, this keyword cannot be Chaos, Imperium, Eldari, Yannari, or Tyranids, unless the detachment in question is a fortification network. This has no effect on your army faction. So
that's old from March.
Yeah, I don't.
Same word for word, I think.
Surprisingly enough, they didn't change a single verbiage about it. Except I think the only thing they actually changed was the concept for including Genestealer Cult, maybe. I don't know, but yeah, nothing of note.
Yeah, that was pretty much standard. The next one is Psychic Focus, and they continue to apply. These are holdovers from spring as well. Psychic Focus, with the exception of Smite, each psychic power can be attempted only once per turn, rather than once per Psyker per turn. In addition, unless the Psyker attempting to manifest Smite has either the Brotherhood of Psykers or Brotherhood of Sorcerers ability, you must add 1 to the warp charge value of Smite for each attempt, whether successful or not, that has been made to manifest Smite during a given psychic phase, to a maximum warp charge value of 11. So then they have the example, Orc Psyker. This is all kind of old hat.
Yep, same thing, exact changeover. I was hoping to make sure that they didn't, change, because
it's actually good. It's actually really good that anything they want to keep as a rule is in the new fact full word for word, so you don't have to keep using Big Fact 1 and Big Fact 2. It seems like Big Fact 2 replaces Full Sail Big Fact 1, which is, consolidation of rules.
What a great point. If they actually didn't have that in there because they just automatically wanted to keep it, you would actually have to have both big FAQs on deck. Great point, Sean.
Mm-hmm. The second one is also a holdover from the last FAQ. An enemy character, it's targeting characters. An enemy character with a wounds characteristic of less than 10 can only be chosen as a target in the shooting phase if it is both visible to the firing model and it is the closest enemy unit to the firing model. Ignore other enemy characters with wounds characteristics of less than 10 when determining if the target is the closest enemy unit to the model. So that's still the same.
Haspel, I believe that you forgot the sentence that said omission. Hive Tyrants, even though they have 12 wounds, still aren't affected, and you can't shoot them.
Yeah, Hive Tyrants and Dread Knight Grandmasters.
Dread Knights. Yeah. Grandmasters are the same, but it's handwritten in mine. I don't know why it doesn't say that for everybody's.
Yeah. All right. Then we go on to the beta match play rules, and they have a really long explanation about why they did that and everything, which is, I think it makes sense. It helps to explain their thoughts on doing it. But it's tactical reserves. This is the first one of the real changes anyway. And it's not a huge change, but it does make things easier, I think. So, tactical reserves. Instead of being set up on the battlefield during deployment, many units have the ability to be set up on teleportariums in high orbit, in ambush, etc., in order to arrive on the battlefield mid game as reinforcements. When setting up your army during deployment for a match play game, at least half the total number of your units in your army must be set up on the battlefield. And the combined points value of all the units you set up on the battlefield during deployment, including those that are embarked within transports that are set up on the battlefield, must be at least half of your army's total points value, even if every unit in your army has an ability that would allow them to be set up elsewhere. Furthermore, in match play games, units that are not placed on the battlefield during deployment in order to arrive on the battle mid game as reinforcements cannot arrive on the battlefield during the first battle round. Finally, any unit that has not arrived on the battlefield by the end of the third battle round in a match play game counts as having been destroyed. So we're back to deep striking, turn 2. I don't know. A lot of folks, I saw a lot of chatter where people thought that this was the end of the world. And I'm like, third edition, fourth edition, fifth edition, everything we deep struck turn 2. It's not a big deal.
Well, that was the life we were living.
Yeah.
And it was random. It wasn't even guaranteed to come in turn 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. On turn 2, it was a 4-up, and then a 3-up, and then a 2-up, and it automatically happened on turn 4. So yeah, you're right. I mean,
I actually like this change because it removes the clunkiness of outside of your deployment zone turn 1, and now all those like relics and things like that. It's clear cut that if you start on the board, you can use them, deep strike wherever you want to go. There's no like exceptions to the rule anymore. It's clear. It just makes it smoother to me.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, I am still. This is going to be game changing for people. We've got units that just dropped, like Space Wolves, right? Long Fangs. They have the ability to come in, be held in reserve, and now all of a sudden you can. In my game plan, in my Beats Lab, whenever we were building lists, I was like, all right, I'm going to have multiple units on turn 1. They're not going to be able to get Alpha Struck if I don't go first. I'll hold them in reserve and then walk 1 unit on. Do their Death Blossom attack with all their stratagem. If they die, then on turn 2, bring my next unit in. Hive Tyrants. There was multiple times, when the big FAQ number 1 dropped, and they said that you're restricted to your deployment zone. I still held my Hive Tyrants in reserve, and I didn't care because I knew a lot of armies were going to come at me, and I would deep strike in my, Hive Tyrants in my deployment zone turn 1. Just to be able to get that firepower to maybe kill those, cultists or anything else. But that's so funny is as I'm saying it out loud, I'm realizing is that some of the things that I would be deep striking in turn 1 in my own deployment zone, the reason why I was doing that aren't actually a thing anymore. Right. So
yeah, you don't need to worry. Well, I suppose they can still get aced, but it's a lot harder.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Zangors are still going to be able to do what they do, or Warp Time, or if you Shining Spears, double moving, whatever else. But it's a little more far and few between, considering you've eliminated almost the chaos element of it. That we'll touch here in a little bit.
All right, and the next one, if my iPad will continue to cooperate. Oh, we have a bunch of related errata. Hold on a second. I want to make sure I'm not... Okay, I did not skip over. So, related errata we have for Codex Space Marines. Strike from the Shadows. Use this stratagem when you set up Raven Guard infantry unit from your army during deployment. At the start of the first battle round, but before the first turn begins, you can move that unit up to 9 inches. It cannot end this move within 9 inches of any enemy models. If both players have units that can move before the first turn begins, the player who is taking the first turn moves their units first. And it's kind of the same thing for Chaos Space Marines, Adeptus Mechanicus, Codex Craft Worlds.
Not Craft Worlds. But,
Craft Worlds is slightly different because it's for Night Spear and Range. So that one is at the end of any of your movement phases, this unit can emerge from the webway, set up this unit anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away. And then Index Xenos 1 is when you set up the Incarn it can be set up in waiting rather than on the battle. So I know Kenny
So
doesn't like this.
We've got 3, so there are basically 3 things there, right?
Yeah, 3 different things there.
We'll cover the first one, the first grouping, right? Chaos and Space Marines first.
Yes. And
Yeah, Haskell,
that's-
what do you think about that?
Well, I know that Kenny doesn't like it because they basically just get a free move instead of being able to infiltrate to be right in your grill. But it honestly doesn't bother me. I can see how the Raven Guard players and like how Alpha Legion would be upset, but I've been getting nerfed for a long time now, so I'm just kind of like, well, okay, you guys don't get to kick me in the jimmy immediately. Like you have to wait a turn. Like I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah, I think tactically it changes a lot for Chaos and for the Marines, because before they could hold back, see where you were deploying. If they were going first, put all the cultists or the space or the aggressors in your grill. If they were going second, deploy to the spaces in the corners and hide and stuff like that. Now they have to deploy their units, and now they basically get a 9-inch redeploy. They can still, going first, redeploy, get pretty close to your grill. 9 inches would put you. What a lot of these deployments are starting you at 24 out.
24. So yeah, you're 13 or excuse me, 15 inches.
And then a couple of closer ones are starting you even closer, like Spearhead or
yeah, depending on who's on the gun line. Yeah,
Vanguard maybe. So you can still get some pretty close stuff. So the shooty cultists can still probably do their thing in a lot of situations, because they're gonna get that 9-inch redeploy, then they're gonna get to move, then they'll shoot. So they'll still get into double tap range of the front lines, but they're not getting deep set anymore into your stuff. So it's a big change. It's a big change to their flexibility.
I believe in my gut it's telling me now. Well, obviously we'll get Kenny's expert opinion, when it comes to it. But I believe that this is massive. Maybe he can talk me off the ledge, but for anybody, especially that goes down the path like where he's at with like 120 Alpha Legion cultists, you don't take that many unless you're down from Jump Street to do one or two couple things, and that is getting in somebody's grill. Now you're like looking at them from the door. You're not really in someone's face, you're waving at them from the window, and I don't believe like sinking the points, because 120 models, even though they are very cheap individually, but it's still, pretty expensive. So I believe that this is massive. Does it completely nerf the elements, of what they're trying to do? Absolutely not. But I believe that this is a major change. I actually go as far to say is for the chaos, out of all the other factions that are out there, I think they take it, in the nuts the most from this, instead of, because they literally are building lists around putting 120 dudes in someone's grill.
I mean, they sure are, but if you look at it from a total player perspective, it's really feel badsies for Mike Haspel when 130 cultists, show up on his grill turn 1, and he's not built or he's playing Grey Knights, to play this certain way, and that threat overload. Yeah, I mean,
and now I just feel like it forces people to think a little bit, because even Grey Knights can ace 120 cultists if you don't get close.
Dude, they were actually one of the armies. Shout out to Hulk Smash 2 years ago at Nova. He was prepared. He brought an army, that had 1 billion silencers and 1 billion storm bolters, and all the mortars and everything else. And so they can put down the bodies. But so I don't even think it's a bad thing by any means. It's just, it's definitely changing the face of the game for a couple. I think this big FAQ changes the face of the game for a couple, 3 armies in particular. And I think that build of 120 Alpha Legion cultists and maybe 120 Black Legion cultists, I think they take it some of the most. But I don't believe that it's unwarranted by any means.
But again, I think it's a gimmick thing, and that's what GMW is trying to get away from. You building everything on one gimmick that's overwhelming. Because
traditionally,
Chaos still has all those kinds of things to get those first turn charges. They've got Dark Crystal, they've got Tided Traders. They're paying the CPs to do those things. So they still have a ton of those things that other units don't have, other armies don't have access to. But yeah, I think they are trying to tone down a total army build gimmick, just like
Yeah. We usually don't agree with each other too much on the show, just so we have the dichotomy. That's why. How do you like that word?
It's a good word.
Was that not impressive right there?
Yeah.
But
spell
Sean,
dichotomy juice.
COORSLIGC. But so Sean, I have to agree with you back-to-back times now. Of like, I absolutely agree that this FAQ doesn't smash anything in particular. It absolutely cuts out a lot of the gimmicks, a lot of the feel badsies that your opponent was getting on turn 1 and 2, and that's exactly what they're trying to change. I don't know if we've decided if we're going to hit the chat too much, but I do want to shout out Eddie Sanchez by saying that the interceptors, thank you, GW, for creating interceptors, and all of the ends. He's saying just dropped in to say hello, but inceptors might be the way to go, specifically because of all the storm bolters having the reserve mechanic and whatnot. So I can get behind it. I think that Grey Knights are potentially not any worse for wear than what they were before this big FAQ.
No, I'll definitely agree with that. I don't think this FAQ affected. Well, what it did is it gave us back Deep Strike, because
Sure.
Because now everybody has to do Deep Strike on turn 2. You know what I mean? But
yeah, you're back on par with everybody.
So we're
Isn't that
back
bad,
on par.
Haspel, that everybody else has got to get a nerf for you to get.
Yeah, it's rough.
So okay, Haspel, what's next?
Yeah, so the next one that it's still on those 3. You know, it was the Codex Craft Worlds where the Illic Nightspear and Rangers appear unbidden rule, where it's at the end of their movement phase, this unit can emerge from the webway, set up this unit anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away. So it's just another way of like doing reserve stuff.
Sean, take it over.
So now, like, I already kind of thought Rangers were kind of trashy, and I don't really like taking them, but now they're like probably totally trash. You can't push people back in that pregame deployment. Now, I guess you don't have to as much anymore because they can't keep striking on you until turn 2, so you can create that space with other units. But Rangers can't start on the board, so you're coming in turn 2 with your sniper rifles, which are heavy weapons, and then you're moving, and then you're -1 to hit. So I think Rangers are now pretty much trash.
So I want to elaborate just one more second, because you are I would say, the highest of all Archies when it comes to Eldar. Truly, Rangers. Now that's just not coming because you have a unique mind. You can make stuff work because you're so in tune to where 40K is, what the meta is, what you can do, catching people off guard. Is that for real? Like, are you telling me Rangers are literally not good? Or is that in the
I guess you just start them. I guess you start them. I guess you can start them on the board, which you would do it anyway. So maybe you're not wasting points to deep strike them anymore. But it's just, again, it's removing that tactical flexibility of where you can place them, what angles you can get to snipe people's characters. Because now you're going to have to start them. They're going to see where you place them before you, that kind of thing. They're not giving you that. A lot of Eldar players use them as dummy drops at the start of the game. Be like, they're reserve, just to force your hand.
The snap off. Here's 5
Here's
units.
5
let
deployments.
Me see your next. Yeah, let me see where your
exactly.
Next is. Okay.
And if you want to not get them shot up, then they're gonna have to. I mean, it just means they don't have an ability. Like, just take away their infiltratability at that point, because you're not gonna pay to, or you're not gonna deep strike them when you can't get them till turn 2. Then, in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And then the last one is the index
straight buff
Xenos. Yeah, the Incarn is now you can set up the Incarn in reserves, in waiting rather than on the battlefield.
Yeah, and what that is actually it's a change. It reads that it's a change to the whole first sentence of the Incarn's rules. And the first sentence, as written in the book, is the Incarn must start in reserve and cannot start on the board. So the fact that that first sentence in your index is replaced with may be put in reserve means you can now actually deploy the Incarn at the start of the game, which is a huge buff.
Okay, I thought it was actually the other way around, that they had to start on the board, but I don't know the rules, so I don't even
Oh
think
yeah, I mean,
I don't even think I bought Xenos one. Well, we're
yeah.
because I'm trying to think. Like, I think the Necrons were in Xenos 2, maybe, I don't know.
No, Necrons are in the same book as
Oh,
Xenos are.
okay, so I do have it. I just never read anything past Necrons.
Yeah, her original sentence says she must be held in reserve. So to me, if it's now saying you may place her in reserve, then that means she can start on the board, which
I absolutely. So,
she was never able
so
to do, and that's a
sorry,
buff.
I had to speak to some customers, but no, I absolutely agree. If you go back and we can use this big FAQ2 as the precedent versus big FAQ1, they specifically say turn one, everybody's got to be held in reserve, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Gene Stealer Colt, they put in the caveat last time. Gene Stealer Colt, you could still do their special abilities. They went as far to say no one, if you weren't deployed on the board, can be put on the board turn one. Even Gene to the Colt. So, if they didn't call her out by name or give her permission to do one way or the other, I think she can do it. Now,
Well, yeah, it's a bit. I think it goes in line with the fact that you can't deploy turn one from reserve anymore,
correct.
which goes against her ability. She still can't. If you put it in reserve, she still can't come in turn one. But now she can actually start on the board, which is something she hasn't been able to do since she existed in as a model. She was never able to start on the board until now.
I
Cool.
like it.
All right, so
Definitely a big thing.
the next stuff is the new beta match play rules. They again have some text that explains kind of their thinking behind it and why they did that. The two rules here are prepared positions. It's a stratagem that everybody gets. The player who has the second turn in the first battle round has access to the following stratagem. It's 2 CP, prepared positions, and use this stratagem at the start of the first battle round before the first turn begins. Until the end of the first turn, all units from your army that are wholly within your deployment zone, other than Titanic units, receive the benefit of cover. Even while they are not entirely on or in a terrain feature, a unit that is already receiving the benefit of cover gains no additional benefit from the strategy. And I'm going to start off saying I think this is a great rule, because having been on the receiving end of I lost this die roll, good game. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
that at least gives me a chance to do something.
dude. So there's a couple things that I could take away from this big FAQ. And Sean, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I believe that this universal stratagem is one of the most powerful things that is coming out of this FAQ. I want you to know the implication of what that means. 2 CP and everybody in your entire army counts as being in cover. So we're going to put this in perspective. Some of the boogeymen that are out there, right, that don't have Titanic keywords. How about Magnus and Mortarion? Do either one of them have the Titanic keyword? That's a negative. They do not. So now on turn one, they have a 2-up armor save. So again, I'm going to dive into this a little bit more. So with a lot of the traditional builds that are guard, blood angels, and knights builds that were coming out of Nova, incorporated anywhere between 9 and 15 mortars. Let me tell you, I did the math that if you're telling me I've got 12 Cadian mortars with overlapping fields of fire from my flame tanks, if I can hit on threes, reroll all the hits with the Relic of Lost Cadia, because obviously I'm playing Chaos, so I'm rerolling all my wounds. Mortarion is going to take, on average, 7 wounds after Feel No Pains, because he has a 3-up armor save and a 5-up Feel No Pain. Let me tell you what happens now when he has a 2-up armor save. Also, one thing that I want to make sure that I point out is I've played against a lot of players. They traditionally, if they fail a 3-up save out of the first bunch or anything else, they're not going to worry about, if I've already got overlapping fields of fire, they're not going to waste a CP, one of their 7 maybe that they have, on, I'm going to reroll one of my 3-up saves. They're not going to do that, right? Let me tell you what everybody's going to do turn one when they have a 2-up save and they have the potential to go unscathed. They're going to reroll that 2-up save, right? So I am the same math on Morty with a 2 of armor save turn 1, I do like 1.5 wounds. It's unbelievable. I believe that this stratagem is game changing.
And it's great. And what a lot of the things we've been talking about was tactical flexibility being removed. This actually adds an element of tactical flexibility that ignores the limitations of terrain based on the table and tournaments that you go to. Now you can deploy in the best spots you want your units to be in, front line, sideline, this, that, for your opportunities, and still get that sweet cover save. And then on top of that, I think it's a huge buff to all the power army armies. Custodes, Grey Knights, Space Marines. If your whole army is 2 up, or if your Custodes, your whole army is 1 up, to start the game,
yeah, it's huge.
You're on mute, I think.
Yeah, what are some units that just came out, Haspel, that potentially have -1 AP? Stuff like Helverins. Let me tell you what a Helverin is going to kill now on turn 1 when they're facing an army with power armor. We got to go down this whole path. Rhinos have 2 of armor saves, ladies and gentlemen. Lehman Russes have 2 of armor saves on turn 1.
Yeah. This might be like return of like Rhino Rush or transports actually being a thing.
Absolutely. Now I believe that I wish inertial guidance for drop pods. I wish that they would have come back strong with it to say, hey, no one can deep strike in on turn 1 unless you paid them 1 million points to have a drop pod, right? So then it makes sense on why I want to bring it. But they didn't. Let me tell you what they did do. They gave us a 2 of armor save Rhinos turn 1 for 2 CP. So if you bring or Chimeras or Wyverns or anything else, all these low-hanging fruit that you could pick up vehicles. Let me tell you what the Castellan, and I'm not going to not play her because they didn't mess with their points. Shout out GW. You actually said a year and a half ago that FAQs are going to be for rules changes. And what's the thing that comes out later?
Chapter approved.
Chapter approved is for points. And I'll be damned if you guys didn't stick to your guns. So shout out to you guys for doing that. But, the Castellan, the autocannons that are on the Castellan, even the plasma cannon, if you don't take Call's Wrath on turn 1, it might as well just be AP -2, AP -1, depending on if you overcharge or not. This is absolutely game-changing, having that. Plus, cover doesn't matter when it involves 74 points of your army, right? Like one random Space Marine squad in it. +1 to your armor save for your 2,000 points of someone's army on turn 1 is massive.
Yeah, think about some of the builds that are out there, like a Talos Dark Eldar list. Now that Talos Dark Eldar list is a 2-up across the board. These are big changes to some very common things. And now you could look at monstrous creature lists, like your Grandmasters are a 1+ walking around, right?
Absolutely. Carnifexes.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, Carnifexes have 2 of armor saves. A lot of these things out there, like Dreadnoughts. Dreadnoughts have 2 of armor saves. Like, this is massive. Like, again, what kills these things? Let's go down the rabbit hole. What kills these things? Rocket launchers. Rocket launchers are AP -2 and 3, depending on what platform they're on. I can tell you that's AP -1 or 2. Everything involved. A heavy bolter has no AP on turn 1. Auto cannons have no AP on turn 1. Assault cannons have no AP on turn 1. That's where we're at, right? I get a save. I get a 5-up save against las cannons on turn 1. That's,
there's
for
definitely
2 CP for 2,000 points. Sean Haspel.
Yeah, to your whole army, not just so like MSU type things are going to get real buffed by this. Like the more units you have that have a 3-up armor save, like MSU Grey Knights or this, that, and the third, are getting a huge buff from that 2 CP.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is like for 2 CP, what in the game interacts with 2,000 points of your army? Because again, remember, it happens on turn 1, and depending on what side of turn 1 you're on, that is going to affect your entire army, or potentially, 1,700 points of your army, depending on if you went second.
Well, you only get it if you go second.
Yeah.
Oh, period. Oh, period. I didn't realize.
No. That's because
it's only for the person going second.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, because it switched my thinking. No.
Only for the person going second.
Yeah, it's like the player who has the second turn in the first battle round has access to that stratagem. Because it's like changed some of my thinking. I'm just like,
So it's basically like fail to seize the initiative, pay 2 CP plus 1 cover.
Yep.
Yeah, and just to make sure, that is unbelievable. I'm actually down to go second all the time now, and that is for any unit that's not Titanic, right?
Right.
Correct.
So Night Titans are not getting that at all. It's
No.
the people that's kind of snipped through the cracks are Magnus and Mortarion as of right now.
Which is a good change because right now they take it on the teeth sometimes going second.
Yo, literally, they actually they can fight almost every battle except, oh, you brought a Castellan and guard. Like, all right, you didn't go first. Good game. Morty's dead. You know.
Yeah.
Haspel, what else we got?
All right. So the next one is called Tactical Restraint. There are several warlord traits, relics, and abilities that give you a chance to gain or refund command points when you or your opponent either use a stratagem or spend command points to use a stratagem. In match play games, each player can only gain or have refunded a total of 1 command point per battle round as the result of such rule, regardless of the source. This does not apply to the Moment Shackle or the Sevenfold Chant abilities or to the player of the Twilight Warlord trait. In these cases, the ability Warlord trait can refund or gain the player more than 1 command point if the stratagem used costs 2 or more command points to use. But once any command points have been gained as a result of the rule, neither it or any similar rule can be used to gain any more command points until the next battle round. Also note that this does not apply to command points that are gained or refunded as specifically instructed on stratagems, for example, feeder tendrils or agents of Vect, etc. So that's the CP farm nerf. I'm in favor of that. I think it was needed, and the reason I like it is the armies that still can build, 15 to 21 command points or whatever based on their build, they can still do that. It's just that when they spend, the 15 command points to pull their incredible combo turn 1, they're not regenerating another 15 command points to do it again turn 2. It's a one-shot thing now. And I'm like, okay, I'm down with that.
Yeah. If you build it and pay the points for it, you get the command points, but you're basically never generating more than 6 total bonus command points throughout the whole game.
Yeah. And
you might not get those 6, but like you probably if you paid for the same things, you would get those 6, but you're not getting more than 6.
Yeah.
Dude, I want you to know, I have some strong feelings on this topic. I believe for what I want to do, and traditionally right now I am playing the Castellan, but instead of just the Castellan, I have his 2 buddies, my 2 Hellbrands, a Blood Angels battalion, and then the Guard Brigade. I want you to know, the concept of the CP farm is still there to me because Grand Strategist in my mind is worth, before it was worth infinity CP, but it's not anymore. It's only worth a free reroll to my Knight Castellan if I'm going in the mirror match. And then now it's worth 6 CP. So Grand Strategist gives me the 1 free reroll and then 6 additional. Now, relics like the Vitae, Kurov's Aquila, any other stuff, like I don't have to spend CP in that because Grand Strategist is going to, in spades, get me my 6 CP throughout the game. So it is definitely, we don't at will get to do what we want, but I want you to know, I think any of these lists, for anybody who's out there, don't give up on them, because I call them out a lot of times. I keep saying it, and I'm going to continue to say it. The Knight Castellan is literally keeping the universe at bay, is holding back the floodgates for the Imperium. So, the only thing that I'll go into is he's still going to be able to do, if you build your army with 20, 23, 25 CP plus 6 throughout the game, you're going to be able to do what you want with the characters that you want to do them with for 2 turns. Anything more than that, you got to go back to playing a regular game of 40K.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you don't get to fight again 17 times, it's probably okay.
That's a very good point. Fighting again on turn 5, that's the issue.
Yes.
Using the Raven strat on turn 5, that is the issue. How the hell did I have, CP to rotate ion shields on turn 6? Well, I just rolled really good. That's a problem.
That's a problem. And that problem's gone.
Yeah. And then the rest of this big FAQ is called the interim balance review, is what they call it. And it's just further changes to match play rules. And honestly, what it translates to is it points changes to stratagems. So they're like, the warp surge stratagem appears to be too effective, enabling a potential invulnerable save of 2 up, and as a result, we're making a small change to the stratagem. This change appears in Codex Chaos Demons Errata, but is shown below for convenience. And then they've got Warp Surge here, and it says use this stratagem at the start of the phase. Select a unit of demons from your army until the end of the phase. You cannot reroll saving throws for this unit, but its invulnerable save is improved by 1 to a maximum. And I don't know that I encountered this one too much, so
It's a little bit of a nerf to Zinch demons because they have a natural 4-up, so they used to be able to take like a unit of pink horrors and pump them up to like a 3-up save and have 20, 30 guys sitting there with a 3-up invul and, you know, speed bumping people, like that kind of thing. So it's a little bit of nerf to them, no real change to the rest of their army.
No, but Sean, you hit it on the head there, though. People with a lot of these Magnus Mortarion, shout out to Austin Wingfield. That's exactly what he's doing. Is he figured out that pink horrors are actually better than with a 3-up invulnerable, 6-up feel no pain, because the changeling is better than squads of plague bears. So
yeah, much better.
Yeah, this is an actual nerf to that style list, because we haven't had that yet in the big FAQ. Shy of the fly keyword, but like we haven't come up with it. So I think this is actually going to be bigger for the Magnus Mortarion builds, maybe the people bringing ridiculous amounts of
Well, they
bloodletter
give
bombs are so
they give and they take, Juice. So they buffed
That's right.
Mortarion and Magnus with the turn 1 cover, and so they got to take something away.
They got to take something away. I'm with it.
all right. And then the next stratagem is Wings of Fire for Blood Angels, and it's going to go change the command point cost of this to 2 CP. I don't know.
And
if
that's
we
the one
wanna...
where that's the one that can just deep strike, picking the captain up off the board and throwing him down at people.
Yes.
So instead of being one and basically free, now it's 2.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit of investment.
Yep. And Juice is engaging other folks. Press.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, where are we at?
No,
don't worry. We
just covered the Blood Angels CP Wings of Fire increase.
There we go.
Moving
2 CP. One was ridiculous for that. 2 seems pretty fair.
Yeah. Next one is Imperial Knights Oathbreaker Guidance System. Change command points of this stratagem to 3 CP.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Juice, but that's the missile shooting at characters?
That's the one sniping a character. It was 2.
What did it cost before?
2
before? 2. I think a lot of the Knight ones went up to 3.
Almost any good one, the Knight, and so we can go ahead and jump ahead. That one, the Knight Crast, or excuse me, the Household Crast, is the one that allowed people to swing again, if I'm not mistaken. That went up. We also have the Raven Strat, went from 2 CP to 3 CP. Yeah, any good Knight thing that they were doing went up to 3, and to be honest, rightfully so.
Yeah, and so like the next one was another Knight one. It's Our Darkest Hour. Well, went up to 3 CP. And then we go over to Kenny's favorite stratagem, Agents of Vect. And it changed to 4 CP.
There's a caveat to that, though. In there still, Haspel, for real this time?
Let me look. A note also that the Agents of Vect stratagem has received an errata. This change appears in the Codex Dracari errata. And it says, this stratagem cannot be used if there are no Cabal of the Black Library, or no, of the Black Heart. I just said Black Library. It's a reflex at this point. So I will reread that to avoid confusion. This stratagem cannot be used if there are no Cabal of the Black Heart units from your army on the battlefield, and cannot be used to affect stratagems used before the battle or during deployment.
Yeah, it's a nice clarification and addition, because some people were starting to take like literally 5 Dark Eldar warriors to unlock the strat, and that's it. So now you kill those 5 dudes, and they don't get to cancel strats anymore. Plus, it costs more. It's a good change.
And Sean, and their CP farm, because people don't realize, I've gotten into more debates with Drakari people saying, oh, a CP farm is broken, but yet again, they have a CP farm themselves. So they are actually the Vex stratagem is getting hit with the trifecta. You have to have units on the board. You have to have 4 CP, and you can only farm back 1 CP a turn. That is a definite hit to the Vex stratagem.
For sure.
Yeah, and that's it for the big FAQ.
So now that we're at this point, hey, instead of going through the codexes and things like that, maybe we could even save that for a little bit. We actually, the chat has blown up and we've got quite a few people in here, especially for Friday night.
Well,
so why don't we do this?
I wanted to cover the other one, which I can't find. I'd found it before and now I lost it because the fly keyword.
Oh, sure.
And I actually can't find where exactly that is.
It's like the first section on the rulebook FAQ.
On the rulebook, okay.
It's a general rule.
So what we're going to do as soon as Haspel gets done with finding that and going over the FAQ, we're going to spend whatever minutes we have left. And instead of just talking about the rules and talking about the codexes and everything else, I want to spend the next little bit. You guys will get the next 20 or 30 minutes or so with us asking questions, and we're going to respond to them. A true Q&A. Let us know what what's on your mind. Do you think this unit is viable? This and this. The chat is immediately going to blow up with 1 million, so we will get to as many as possible. But just so you know, that's what the second half of the segment is going to be. We're thinking we're going to hit all the codexes, but again, we'll cover that on Wednesday night. We hit the bulk of it. Now, something that we don't do on the podcast is hit the Q&A. So it is up to you guys after Haspel gives us this next bit of information.
Yeah, I basically skipped right past it because I was like looking past it. But it's as Sean says, the very first thing in the rulebook FAQ under moving, it says change the second paragraph to read, if the data sheet for a model says it can fly, then during the movement phase, it can move across models and terrain as if they were not there. So the key word thing there is during the movement phase, which means that you can't jump over screens anymore, which is really interesting. I don't know if I'm torn between whether it makes the game less dynamic or more tactical. I'm kind of
That's
torn.
where we talked about that earlier in the show too, where I said they'd gone a bridge too far and they needed to just clarify that you didn't ignore true distance between your models, and that's what they needed to change. Like true distance is what they could cover, but I think jumping over models should come back. Maybe by the spring they'll notice that. But what they're going to need is actually a further FAQ to this question. Is it says movement phase, but does that affect all those things that cause you to move like the movement phase,
move
like
as if
warp time, quicken, soul burst? Because that's a big question. Like, can you move? Yes. Okay, now I quicken myself or warp time myself. So now Magnus gets stopped by the 5 guardsmen, or can he jump the 5 guardsmen?
Yes. Sean, I want you to know if these shining spears are able to soul burst action, in the assault phase because something died near them, and be able to move as if it's the movement phase, that is absolutely not in the spirit of the rule, and I will be frustrated. They have made a hard stance saying that no, this is not a thing. They don't want people to do exactly what I did to my man Matt Schuckman on camera, as AKA make a 1-inch charge when I'm 11 inches away, because I'm 10 inches in the building. But we have to be real here. Space Marines did and Imperium did really well at Nova for the first time. We unthroned the Eldar element. We do not need to make sure that we nerf everything that the Imperium has and let Yannari run free. Sean, give me the go, no go for launch that you agree.
But I mean, they went across the board. They went into Harlequins. We're not going to Codex, but like Harlequins have flip belts, which basically have fly. And they basically said that works the same too. So they went full systematic everything right now.
So just like I didn't read the Harlequin flip belts, but I did read the wraiths. So that's the same concept. So a
Same
wraith that can phase form through in the movement phase. They still don't ignore cover, or move terrain or anything else in the assault phase. So okay, so I do like that element. So, guys, do you feel good stopping here? And then we'll go into the FAQ?
Yeah.
Get in the chat.
Let's hit the chat up. So, Christopher here says, what are the implications on the game, do you think, for the 2CP new strat? So, Christopher, just so you know, we went hard on that strat about, I don't know where we're at in this, maybe 45 minutes in. If you fast forward, rewind to like the 25-minute segment, we literally spent a good amount of time talking about it. We think it's one of the most game-changing elements to this FAQ. It is going to affect Magnus Mortarion, Space Marines, Rhinos, a lot of people.
There's some definitely army builds that weren't good before that now could be viable.
Yep. Can you guys explain the Rangers change one more time? And so I'm so glad that question came up because I'm not going to lie. Sean, only you could give us intel like this. I am not an Eldar guy. I couldn't probably see that Rangers aren't as good because I just get lost saying that they're -2 to hit and they have sniper rifles. But let's dive in one more time to tell everybody why the Ranger potentially is not going to be the auto take moving forward.
Yeah, so before Rangers, you would place them in whatever, teleportation, reserve, whatever, you infiltrate them. And then before the first battle round, you could deploy them anywhere on the board outside of 9 inches from your opponent. Now, if you don't deploy them, you can't deploy them until turn 2. So it means you either have to make two choices. You either have to deploy them regular, which means they're not bubbling you out. They're not getting angles to snipe characters that your opponent's hidden. They're not creating that space you usually create with them. Or you can't bring them until turn 2, and then they're coming in. They count as moving, so they're shooting at -1, and they don't really impact the game anymore. Now, they're not terribly expensive, but every Eldar life is pricey. We're a dying race.
I agree. So, hey, we've actually got something that is not necessarily a question, but I believe, Aspel, Sean, we are the three combined that will bring the light back to my man here. He is saying it feels like you cannot play a monotype army anymore and always have to mix in allies. Aspel, I might know where you're at with this, but potentially with the new FAQ, can this change, and what kind of help can we give him or her?
I feel that changes a lot for me. Like my Necrons now, really want to put them on the table because all the dudes that I was gonna have to try to resurrect and everything, now they might have a 2-up save. You know what I mean? For that turn 1, and then you're dealing with a lot of Necrons. Even, and I hate to say this because I know it's gonna come back and bite me in the ass, but even my Grey Knights, I'm like, you know what? If I'm not getting tabled turn 1, so that I'm playing down 1,000 points when I go into turn 2, I think I can present a problem to people. I mean, a group of 10 strike Grey Knights, 40 Stormbolter shots, that's no joke. That's not a joke. And if you run a bunch of those and a bunch of silencers and stuff, if they're alive, because that usually is what undoes me, is that they get pasted on the top of turn 1, so that on the bottom of turn 1, I'm playing 1,000 points down. You know what I mean? And I can't come back from that ever. And by turn 2, the game's over. Now with that 2CP stratagem, I don't know, man.
And some of this revolves around the mono builds that exist inherently as codexes. So we haven't talked about Tau a lot tonight because most of us probably aren't Tau players, but I think a lot of these things make Tau better. Army-wide cover for Tau. People can't deep strike turn 1. No one's getting close to them with infiltrating cultists. A lot of that helps Tau. Orcs are about to come out. There's another mono build coming out in October, so that's just like hope for their codex, and they're probably going to be strong. So that's 2 mono builds right there. If you look at at codexes themselves, Eldar can stand up by themselves. You don't need to do that. They get benefits from other things, but they don't need them. Dark Eldar you can play, and I think you can even play more Dark Eldar builds now with this FAQ and that cover thing. Because something I didn't like about Talos is we talked about Mortarion. They had 3-up saves. People would just wait to fire them down turn 1. You telling me a Talos has a 2-up save now turn 1? That's a game changer. Game changer.
That is unbelievable. And because of their slow movement, they have fly, right, Sean?
Yep, they have fly.
So they have the perfect amount of fly to not actually give a fuck if you can only move your 8 inches or whatever in the movement phase. You weren't jumping over models really anyway, right? Like you in the assault phase, you were actually utilizing your fly in the movement phase. So this unit, which was already prevalent in most places in most high level games, is still, if not good, if not better. So I agree. I actually think Tau is a lot better. You know, you've got units like Riptides, Broadsides, all these things that have 1-up saves on turn 1. This really matters when we're talking about stuff that will kill them turn 1, or missile launchers, last cannons, plasma cannons, anything else. They're just for free getting 4-up saves. You know, they're built in with invulnerable saves on 5-ups. Now they just got +1 better. So I mean, I'm really liking where that's going. What do you guys think about this? Is coming from the Dark Artisan. So what do you guys think about mono Blood Angels?
I think that again that slides into the Grey Knight question and the Marine question. This strat opens up Marines to play turn 1 and not just get killed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
2-up armor saves is a big change from a 3-up. You know.
Are you telling me Primaris Marines did not just get that much better?
Oh no, they got. I think all power armor and power armor equivalent. That's why I'm like pumped for my Necrons.
Yeah, multiple wounds. Oh, Haspel, you're right. Wraiths have a 2-up armor save turn 1.
Yeah.
Oh, if Adam's watching, no, Blood Angels are still bad.
So we've got a Dark Angel specific question in the Dark Angels Codex. Can I use the Inner Circle and Deathwing Assault Stratagem to deep strike a Dreadnought? I actually don't know that question. I don't know the answer to that.
What was it again?
The Dark Angels Codex. Can I use the Inner Circle and Deathwing Assault Stratagem to deep strike a Dreadnought? So he wants to combo together the Inner Circle and Deathwing Assault Stratagem. I don't know about that. Sean might be looking that up for us, but I can tell you right now that for 1 CP, you can absolutely deep strike a Dreadnought if it's painted black and is Deathwing, or excuse me,
Deathwing is white. Choose.
Deathwing is white. Excuse me, Haspel. What is it? Deathwatch.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, Deathwatch can deep strike Dreadnoughts.
Yep.
So
Deathwatch can for sure. I don't know the inner workings of the Inner Circle.
Yeah.
So
I'm not familiar with it.
There's a lot of silence in that group.
Yeah, you're right. Clint wants to know: did Nurgle screen just get stronger now that you can't jump over it?
Nurgling screen or Nurgle screen?
Nurgle. Just
like plague bearers?
Plague bearers, Nurglings, pox walkers, maybe, you know, anything. Did that just get stronger?
I mean, any screen basically just got stronger that you can't deep strike it or jump over it. Something I always used to do was people would hide their characters, but they'd leave a space, and like the solitaire or like a shining spear could jump that guy and get your character. Now that mistake doesn't hurt them, you know, with their placement, because the guys just standing in front of them automatically keep me from walking into you. So.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've actually got I like this question. It's from, can't see here, but it says Rubric Marines. Question: are they viable now? Now, for anybody who doesn't know, the Rubric Marines have a special ability where if the damage of the weapon that they're being shot with is 1, they get +1 to their save. So now you're telling me a Rubric Marine on turn 1 that's getting shot by a heavy bolter has a 1-up save. Well, it always had a 1-up save. So let's go. What has an assault or an auto cannon that has strength 7 -2, right? You know what most autocannons are?
Aren't they 2 damage though?
Ah, good call. So I'm trying here. Assault cannons are only -1. Is there anything that's -2 shy of random bolters?
No, well, the heavy bolter is a change because they would go from a 2-up to a 3-up, and now they're going from a 1-up to a 2-up with the heavy bolter.
But no, the heavy bolter would just. Oh, you're right. I see what you're saying. So you're right. The -1 AP would wash, and then they would get an additional +1. So
Yeah.
Rubric Marines being shot by a heavy bolter turn 1 still get a 2-up save instead of a 3-up.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm with it. I like this.
They're still probably overcosted slightly, but you know, any of these things that are taking you, any of these 3-up armies that are going to a 2-up, it's a massive change. Massive.
And I also want you to know, shout out to my boy Zach Thacker, Beast of the West out there in California. I want you to know we have been talking in our Beach Lab together, talking about Rubric Marines because they have the base psychic ability that says heal D3 mortal or D3 wounds. I love that for Magnus and Morty or for Magnus. When you've got elements to heal Morty and now you have elements to heal Magnus, I can get behind this. Like I'm not a hater of the Rubric Marine. It is definitely overcosted, but this is another cool element. Do you think conscripts might be back by Jay? Is that a thing? Conscripts, are they back?
Why would they be back?
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah,
I think they still get hurt. I think they still just get hurt by morale.
That's a good point. It doesn't matter if you have 30 models or not that have +1 to your save, you still have shitty morale. And no commissars to keep you alive anymore. That doesn't exist. So that's a good point. And to be honest, 10-man guardsman units are stronger than they've ever been.
And again, with this strat, MSU is better, right? You don't want to blob up 3 squads. You get more benefit out of that 2 CP.
Yeah, that's absolutely, and again, you don't need to worry about bubble wrapping entire elements of your army. You just need to throw random pockets of stuff to shade people as they're moving left and right.
Mm-hmm. We have a long question here in the Twitch thing. Tarnhodge says, as a semi-new player playing mono Blood Angels, he struggles finding the joy in an army that suffers from changes to close combat, fly, deep strike. Do you guys think it makes sense to restrict close combat armies in general instead of dealing with problems like fly runs, deep striking turn 1? Playing a close combat army, I don't understand the nerf to stuff like Alpha Strike, and now that the fly keyword when the lists that rule ITC events aren't close combat armies. GW doesn't care about the ITC. That's rule number 1, right? They don't play. They don't care. The majority of people playing 40K that GW cares about are playing in their basements. So they're not playing at ITC events. They're not playing at stuff. So what you're seeing are the reflections of that, primarily. You know what I mean?
The concept, Haspel, I'm sorry, the concept of a Alpha Strike army is actually being played at the high level play. It's just not in full force, meaning there's not 120 dudes in your face. There is a Banginius or 2, though. There is the concept of Magnus or Mortarions. There is the concept of, Zangors or Shining Spears or stuff like turn 1 charges are an absolute thing. They have went above and beyond to try to stop turn 1 charges, but they've only stopped it for 80% of the field or 85% of the field, while that 15% that's left are some of the most relevant races that are out there, factions that are out there. So, it is a little frustrating when they try to stop it and it only doubles down on some codexes that are lesser. So I can feel where he's coming from, and this absolutely affect turn 1 assault armies, unless you have to jump, unless you have,
Dark Crystal.
I can't even say Gene Stealer Cult anymore because they X that out. So it is what it is. It's dark. Dinar in all, John. I have to complain for just a second. Like Yunari and all did not get touched, shy of fly. But like the concept of them, and you actually hit on it, saying, are they going to FAQ to say that stuff that happens that gives you acts like the movement phase, aka soul burst, things like that they can do in the assault phase. Um, if not, if they don't get the negatives of that, we're right back to where we started, and Eldar wins everything. Not that is bad. I'm not going to try to candy my statement on all. That's a shitty situation. If every event that we go to, Eldar is the number one. If whatever hobo Baggins that walked in the door plays, 20 or 30 shining spears, should not auto win the tournament. So I hope that they have something ready on deck to let us know that soul bursting is not the end all be all. Thoughts?
The soul burst isn't a huge issue because, like I said, it's not. You're still not gonna be able to charge over things because you can't do that. And so I wouldn't worry about that as much. It's more the yo-yo effect with soul bursting, whereas they come in with the charge, and then can they then flee out behind the terrain because of fly, like 22 inches backwards with the shining spears. That's the most powerful thing that people like Nick and them use with that, where they charge in, kill stuff, and then yo-yo back to safety to remove the threat to themselves. But the question is, with all those things, warp time, quicken, will it let them to jump further into your screens, or will they be basically blocked up against your first row? And I can see both sides of it being answering a question, because there's also something in their FAQ where they've already covered that soul burst shooting, you can't target characters, because it's, even though it's not the shooting phase, and the only character defense rule only happens in the shooting phase, they've ruled it that the shooting that you're doing from the soul burst counts as in the shooting phase type thing, even if you're doing it in the movement phase or psychic phase. So
not good.
There's that.
Not good because they feel like they just fixed a powerful element that they had, so they could, for anybody who didn't understand what he said is, with soul bursting, no matter what phase it is, they can literally target characters because it's not the shooting phase. So this is something that they needed to potentially nerf. But now I don't even care about the shooting element. Movement is key. If your army moves better, if your army, owns the movement phase and has fly and can bypass all other screens and negatives that most armies have, that is unbelievable, and that is a sick precedent that they've set with that. So yeah,
but to get back to the close combat guy, focus in right now. Close combat is the most powerful shit in this game. That's why they keep nerfing us. Close combat is more powerful than shooting because you can restrict people's movement. You can do different things. You just have to work harder. It sucks. You gotta work harder.
Wait a second. We need to stop real quick. I don't know if everybody else understood what happened, but nothing Sean was saying was coming in. I felt like he was in the zone and only talking to one person. I felt like he was like soul touching. My man with this question is like, Sean was like in there like swimwear. I loved it. I absolutely loved that. That was for anybody else. If you have a question, make sure that you hit a passion level to get that out of me, because that was unreal. I absolutely love that. Sean, give me a little nugget of information. How do you feel about Custodes?
Custodes? Why?
Yeah, Custodes. We have a question right now that says, how do you feel about Custodes? Even though they already have a 2-up armor save, does the +2 stratagem affect the fact that they already have a 2-up armor save to give them the 1+? And then I'm scrolling through, trying to find it.
1+ is huge.
Here we go.
1+
Shadow
is huge.
1+ is huge. I agree. Shadow says, how about Custodes now? Can't deep strike and assault turn 1. Bikes can't fly over screens. Don't benefit much over the cover stratagems because they have an inherent 2-up save and a 4-up invulnerable. And now don't get the CP battery. Let's talk them off the ledge.
I mean, you still get the CP battery. Your battery just doesn't recharge all game. So you can still take that guard brigade, which gets you 12, +6. It's still giving you 18 because you're definitely recovering the 6, as Juice and I talked about earlier. So that's 18 CP right there. and then you take the rest of your army as custodes, and you do benefit from the cover thing, because you're getting it basically at a discount because you have a huge amount of CP, so it's not farming you that hard. And now you have a 1+. So all those things that were junking you into the 3-up, because basically you want things that shoot at you to either be expensive and make you take your 4-up invul, or you still get your 2-up. And that's what this thing does. It gives you both benefits of the things you're paying for. You're still getting your 2-up save, which is your stock, against all the junky things like the heavy bolters. Because heavy bolters people get in spades, and I've said it since the edition started that cheap -1 firepower is the most powerful stuff out there. So if they're junking your guys at a 3-up, then you're not getting the cost of your expensive invul or the cost of your expensive 2-up. Now you're getting your 2-up all the time.
Yeah, that's an amazing point. And again, what was the cool new kit that everybody goo-gooed over, and including me, because I have 2 of them now, is Helverns. -1, 3 damage. So I was forcing you to make a 3-up save, right? Or die, because that's 3 damage each, right? Like, so it was a huge chunkier wounds. Matter of fact, I believe most of them are 4 wounds, but it doesn't matter. So like, now that you still, just from jump streak, still get -2.
Yeah, that's a big change, I think, for custodians.
Yeah.
All these elite armies that are keeping their high value saves that they're paying for turn 1 is big, right, Haspel? You pay a lot of points for your guys, right?
Yeah, and the turn 2 deep strike I think helps custodes, honestly, because now my bikes have a chance. They're already in your grill because they moved, right? So now my Alaris Terminators just came down, and I use that other stratagem. The name escapes me, but I call it like the 5 Lions of Voltron. And they just, now you have 5 characters assaulting your line with the bikes, and you have to make choices that are not easy. And some of them are gonna get through. You can't kill us all. That's so I think the turn 2 deep strike actually helps.
And like any elite army, it's hard for GW to balance in this game with when you have armies that can take 200 bodies. So it's a hard thing to do. So I don't think they're ever going to get it perfect. But anything where you can maintain the integrity of the things your elite army paid for, and they pay for their saves.
Agreed. Hey, we've got a special guest, little Bea. Oh, Sean's waving at you.
Hi.
Hello.
So is everybody else out there. This is absolutely a friendly Friday. So we've got everybody in. Just so you know, you can't hear or anything out of that microphone. So that's the microphone we're speaking into. Remember, you're trying to talk to you later. So we've definitely, for anybody out there who has little ones and everything else, we have already, it's in the works. We want to get kids involved. I started out in this hobby probably 2 or 3 years, a little bit older than what Bea is now. She's 8. So it is right around the corner. Shadespire is in her future. Kill Team is in her future.
What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah, that's right. All the best games.
I don't think I want to play that.
Well, what do you
Painting
think?
Juice's armies.
Yeah.
I want to be a writer.
Oh, there it is. Haspel, did you hear that?
I did hear that.
That is a legit writer. Mike Haspel, the legendary Mike
A
Haspel.
writer and a coder.
A game coder, and this she's too smart for this
Yeah,
game.
promising
That's what
future.
Yay.
Shadespire's too
So-
easy. It's too easy.
Yeah, like I don't want to play that stuff. So, all right, Haspel, who's up?
There's my English degree.
Nice.
All right, who's up on the Q&A?
Haspel's lost.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, I'm
All
just trying to.
So here we go. Space Marine Scout deployment isn't affected. So I believe that if Rangers are affected, are Space Marine Scouts still that same thing?
They might be different. Them and Nurglings always deployed with everything in the regular deployment. They were just able to break the deployment constraints. I haven't looked at those FAQs. Let me try to pull one up real quick to see if it did change. But they never null deployed, and I think they changed all the null deploy options.
Gotcha. Sean, we actually Charles is in here. This is a Sean corner. Only you and Charles are listening right now. Wants to know what is the best way, hands down best way to run my man, Drazahar, I don't know how you actually pronounce it, but Drazahar and Incubi.
Oh man,
Is there a best way? Give us something. Tell us.
I think he's a little overcosted and doesn't offer that much to the army, but he's awesome and his model is super sweet and I love him. I used to run him all the time in 5th edition. I think you need to accept that he's about, when you put him in the Incubi on your list, you're degrading your efficiency by a little bit, and then you have to find uses for him. Now, however, are they going to be better at killing Marines? And if the Marine meta picks up after this, then that may be finding a niche for them in the structure of their army, and that kind of thing. But with transports being, the Dark Eldar transports are in the tough spot where they don't have a natural 3-up, so they're not benefiting from this cover rule as much as Rhinos. Turn 1, they're benefiting a little bit. You can try to push them down the throat. But with like Taloses maybe backing them up in this edition, or Witches tying up shooting, you can get Drazar in there and start to take some heads. He needs like 2 more attacks and a little bit of AP.
Yeah, and you want to know what? The +1 to the save, the certain things doesn't really help him. If he got +2 attacks, if he got a 2 of armor save, maybe a -1 to his rend, anything else, or +1 damage, I could see it. But you're right. I believe that where he's costed, and he also,
and he's not
Sean,
expensive, which is crazy. He's like 80, 90, 100 points, but he's like still
yeah,
like
but
a little too expensive.
so are all the characters in Dark Eldar. And can he get a 2 of invulnerable save?
No, he has a 2-up armor. But
yeah, so like if he can get a 2 of invulnerable save, I can get behind it. But like, I think it's tough for some of those other elements. So here we go. Next one.
I had one that I saw.
Oh, go right ahead.
Spoke to my Necron stuff. Somebody said, has anyone asked if the Monolith Skies rule change lets us deploy turn 1? I think yes, because it says that they're just like disembarking from a transport. So they're not deep striking. They're whatever. They're getting out of a transport. So I think you can still come out. That's my interpretation.
back to the Marine question. I don't think scouts change. They're not in any of the FAQs. Scouts.
Oh wow, major. So you went back and looked. It as it appears right now that potentially the Eldar Rangers changed, but not scouts.
Again, like I said, Rangers always, when they choose, didn't deploy on the board, and that's why they affected all those. Scouts actually had to deploy during the deployment phase, and Rangers didn't. They always kind of like just held them off, and I think they changed all those ones.
Could Razorback spam see a return? We absolutely
talked about that. Yeah.
Yep. And for anybody who's joining in now, to make sure they understand, like Razorback spam is an absolute real deal thing, because they on turn 1 they have a 2-up save if you don't go first. I just can't touch on that enough. Like we're talking about units like mono builds, Astra Militarum, Pask has a 2-up armor save, tough to save, and all his Lemon Rust buddies have a 2-up armor save. That is powerful. Leviathan Dreadnoughts, are even better. I mean, it's so funny that we're coming back to this where fly is stopped. You can't deep strike turn 1. You can't, the CP has went up on certain things, but the one thing that we keep going back to is a stratagem that is affecting people's lists on a per unit basis. Like, it seems pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the biggest thing about that strat, which we keep touching on, is that it affects your whole army. So where other defensive strats, you had to pick one unit, people would target that unit to trigger the strat, and then pick your other units and just destroy them. Now it just affects everything at once, which is way different.
Yeah.
So, hey guys, I want to bring in, this is something special that we're doing. We have a live Q&A here in the Beats Lab. We've got about anywhere 15, 20 people in here. This is a Magic pre-release night. And because of how the hurricane lined up, we weren't able to get as involved in that hurricane or the Magic pre-release night as possible. But we still have 20 people in here getting ready, getting some Magic in, playing some 40K, playing some D&D. It's a great night. So for anybody who doesn't know, to my left, I believe, let's actually pull up this camera here to make sure he's even in frame. There he is. He's actually, the camera is in line. I am probably 75 pounds heavier, and he is 2 inches taller. Nice. This is Daniel Deswin. You've seen him on some of the battle reports that we've done.
Move to your right.
Move to my right. Oh, come on in just a little bit. There he is.
There
and
he is.
So him and I are actually went in together and are doing the Beats Lab Gaming. This is an actual thing. So, Daniel, why don't you get on here and ask? He has a question, wants to talk about some things. You can listen to the guys. I hear their voice all the time.
Do you?
Oh, I can't hear him right now.
You can't hear him right now?
No.
Oh, I thought you had magic juice powers or something.
I'm actually the
Sean-
voice in his head.
Voices in your head? I don't know if I should have gone business with you. Sean, what's your favorite? So, like, the biggest thing to me, like, juice is more than the competitive side. Like, I do a lot more of the modeling and painting aspect and stuff like that. That's what's important to me. What's your favorite right now, like your favorite model or anything like that?
Besides this guy right here, my avatar.
That's a good one. That's actually on the table in there. Somebody's playing with it right now.
Yo, Sean, do me a favor. Let's get the camera on him. Pick up that Harlequin bike. This guy is a tryhard. If you thought that he was good on the table, you son of a bitch. This guy he is taking his game to the next level. This is all hand painted. Yeah, get it. Look at that.
That's gross. I love it.
Dude, all that. These guys are going nonstop. Like, so this is what I love. Potentially the best player in the country, captain of Team USA, and he is hand painting gifts and look at all this.
I don't know if you can see the runes on him. Really tight on his skin.
Yeah, that's kind of sick.
Yeah, it's gross. I think it's great. I think that's one of the things that we're pushing here to a lot is, it's great. Juice does these tactics things and gets everybody involved in the gameplay and everything, but like it's also good, aesthetically pleasing. It just makes it so much better to play against an army that's beautifully done, and you can see that you put a lot of work and time into it. So yeah, I think it's great.
We have a concept here. We have a couple, mantras even, of no gray models.
Right.
And so that's actually part of one of our last tactics classes was a class that we came in was like, bring your models, and while we're doing, let's paint them. Don't feel that like, oh, this hour that I have to hobby is only for, listen about how to play the game or how anything else. Like you can absolutely multitask. So,
I used to only play, or I used to paint in like my spare time, but focus mostly when I was at events on the play and stuff like that. But I spend so much more time, and at a certain point you realize that you spend so much more time in your house, in your Beats lab, doing the painting stuff than you do actually getting out and playing. Yeah. And it's so much more rewarding when I get to an event now and people are like, that is some dope shit, Yeah. And I posted a picture like my bikes on Instagram, and somebody's like, I don't care if those kill my Imperial Knight. Those are gorgeous. All right.
It's always better. That's right. It's always better to die to a beautiful model than some, you put all this time and effort into something that you think's great, and then you die to like a gray Castellan or whatever. It's just, it feels bad.
Oh, yeah. I've even got it better than this. Oh,
wow.
Look at this. Pro tip by Sean Nathan. Not only will I give you advice how to beat somebody in 40K, but I'll show you how to paint your damn bases by the mapped quantity. You're an animal. Look at this.
You gotta raise it up.
Yeah, for blue tack. I don't even know. That is Hubba Bubba. I can smell it from here. He's got a big chew bubble gum holding those bases down. That is unbelievable. Look how beautiful that is.
That's dope, dude.
Oh, this is unbelievable.
Is that marbling?
Yeah, it's like a marble effect. Let me see if I can get the lighting.
I just attempted at that my first try though. Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shout out to my boy Josh Kinder over at the Wobbly Modelers, who's got a massive
Can you see it?
tech when it comes to. I'll show you what you're looking at there.
Mm-hmm.
I tried it for the first time the other day.
When it comes to that marbling, and so I'm gonna act like I know what I'm talking about here real quick. But Sean, I don't know if this is the exact thing that you used, but was steel wool.
Yeah, I'm gonna
is
try that
one
on
of
the.
so you
I'm gonna
lay
try that on the
steel
white
wool
one.
over
Yeah.
and spray with the airbrush.
It's genius.
Excuse me, spray like this.
No,
Is it like,
like
this?
this.
Yeah. Okay. My Crayola brush is like this, So, but he would spray over it in layers and things. So, steel wool.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Why
try that
didn't
on
you tell
the
me
white
that
ones. I did
before?
that. I did the black ones by
I mean,
hand.
look, I got shit going on up here. It's tough to get it all out. So, absolutely, Daniel. Thank you for
Yeah,
everything.
I got a big tournament coming up, so I'm lining up all kinds of bases. All kinds of colors.
You gonna come down here and play?
I'll be down there in November, right, Juice? Ask
November.
Juice.
November 3rd
November
weekend,
3rd.
if I'm not mistaken. This is actually the first time that it's been said aloud.
Oh, my bad.
No, it's fine.
Am I
No, this is
busting-
great.
busting
No,
secrets?
this is great. We're gonna do a whole thing about it, but Sean Naden, the best 40K player in the history of that has ever existed, is literally coming to the Beats Lab. This is not like figuratively. I'm on my Beats Lab as I'm shitting on the toilet,
Are we
and
gonna put
I'm
his
going.
picture on the space?
This is, I mean, I've actually, the space where I'm getting rid of the space marine, and I'm
Just
getting
gonna
a
put him
picture
there.
of Sean Naden.
No.
Sean Naden doesn't do push-ups; he does earth downs. Death doesn't come looking for Sean Naden. Sean Naden comes looking for death.
That's inspiration.
You guys,
I
you guys
can't-
need a Christmas card?
That's it. Bye.
I'm your guy. So yes, that's exactly happening in November. It's going down. We gotta make it happening. Got to make it happen. Sean Naden in Aberdeen, Southern Pines, North Carolina, playing 40K, rolling dice.
Yeah.
All day, every day.
Haspel, what does it take? What does it take to get a Mike Haspel out to the East Coast?
Right now, I can't do anything. I'm out of time off. I literally used all my time off. So
We need government contracts. I understand.
yeah, I'm just working back in the mines now, in the government mines.
Yo, we have a shout out to Battle for Salvation next weekend.
Battle
Yeah,
for Salvation. I'll be there.
Yeah, you will. And you're not going to be alone, Sean. There's out of the 80 people that potentially or 90 people that have bought tickets, there's this tournament will amass some of the best and greatest minds in this game. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of the toughest fields. But best. There are two events that I go to, and I mark the calendar, and I won't miss. LVO and Battle for Salvation. Those are my top two that I can't miss in a year.
Wow. Way to put, hands down the single largest, especially after the ticket sales that they have this year, over 760 individual players, the LVO, and put Battle for Salvation in that same level above Adepticon, Nova, Nova, some of the other GTs we have in the South here, like, it's happening in November.
Warzone Atlanta.
Warzone Atlanta. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. That was the beer speaking, not me. But so Warzone Atlanta, some of the things. So this is that's pretty amazing. This is actually, it's one of the worst times a year for me to try to get to an event, which is like the first weekend in October. For anybody who doesn't know, if you're in the catering business or have a food truck, that's when everybody and their mother calls you to do a festival, catering, or wedding. I'm like, there is a lot of other weekends. Let's try to pile some of that love on some of the other ones. But, maybe next year, hopefully, Sean, I will be able to make enough money where I could take one of those days off. So, but there's going to be a tough field because not only you're going for like Renaissance Man. Obviously, we've seen your paint, but there's not only competitive people out there, but we've got Josh Kinder from the Wobbly Modelers, who is doing an entire night army with the gladiator theme.
Tales of Ulysses and
Yes.
Odyssey.
Dude,
it's really cool.
we've got literally hand painted all kinds of gifts and everything else about it. It's unbelievable. I'm so excited.
Yeah, the field is always really great. There's the Kinder, I think, won best painted last year. My buddy Dan Woods won best converted model with his orc themed AdMech, and it's just a great event. It's well run. It's in a good location with plenty of space, and it's in the top of a mall that's like one of the biggest malls you can be in. And so like there's all kinds of restaurants and everything. People go out at the night, and you'll be walking all the restaurants and seeing people hanging out and all that. It's a great event, well run, great atmosphere. Bobby and Ed and the BFS crew put on a great show.
I love it. Well, I feel like Haspel, unless anything else is going on, do you or Sean, if anything else you want to talk about, I feel like we might be able to get out of here.
Yeah, I've got nothing else. I'm going to try to raid Kenny if he's still going.
Raid that ass. Ooh, do you know how many times on air I've been wanting to say, let's raid Kenny's ass?
Yeah, so I'm going to try to figure this out. So bear with me for a second. Then we'll just raid over to Kenny. And
so for the Twitch people, that means we're going to send you over to watch his show. Get on Twitch if you're not on Twitch yet.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. The number one platform to be on right now is Twitch. The most interactive, the most everything. So why Haspel is doing this, let's send everyone out, over 200 people that are watching us, 250 people that are watching us. Sean, let's get them out of here with what is potentially a list that you're either going to run, are running, or taking to BFS. Which one are you giving us?
Oh, I'm doing Avatar Kane, Eldrad, Spiritseer, 40 Guardians, Black Guardians. This is all Ulthway. Painting up this sweet ass Wave Serpent. And then I'm rocking in Witch Cult, Curseblade? Yeah, Curseblade. And then my Harlequin Bikers, filling out.
Big dick swinging, doesn't care, wants everybody to know what he's playing. I don't know what half that shit does. Half that shit sound like I could kill it in an instant. And next thing I know, I have no models left. That's why this guy is the GOAT and I'm not.
Raid that ass, Haspel. Raid that ass.
I think we are denied the raid because I just tried to do it and it says I don't have permission to do it.
Yo, Haspel, I feel like it's not a raid anymore. If we don't get permission, it's actually called Canis Rex.
Yeah, I don't know. So we'll just go out on a technical difficulties note, I guess.
Well, there it is. Guys, if you haven't already, and gals, head on over to longword.net. That's home of all the battle reports. Get exclusive content, early access to all the cool videos, and potentially more. Head on over to longword.net and become a veteran of the Longword today. Thanks, everybody.
Boom.
I've heard Rob Bear say that phrase 1 million times. I was like, I will say the shit out of that phrase.
Yes, there were like, I think we peaked out at 80. We are still streaming. I'm stopping it right now. But no, they shouldn't be able to hear you. Shouldn't being the operative word. Yeah, so I'm still trying to just shut things down in an orderly fashion here, and I'm like, so